When it comes to web app and API security, the choice is simple. You can choose Fastly's security solution that teams will actually use in full blocking mode, just like 90% of their customers. Or you can stick with costly options that you probably just turn off. You can get Fastly's all-in-one platform that protects apps everywhere they live, however they're built. Or departments can agree to disagree. You can go to securityweekly.com/Fastly to learn more. Or you can just wish you had. Stopping advanced threats requires knowing exactly what you're up against. ExtraHop Reveal X is the only solution that shows you not just where intruders are going, but where they've been. 90-day lookback and complete network visibility across the data center, cloud, and device edge help security teams respond 84% faster with ExtraHop Reveal X network detection and response. Explore the interactive demo at securityweekly.com/ExtraHop. Today's connected world leaves no room for errors. Neustar reliably secures those connections. Neustar's cloud solutions, which include web application security, DDoS protection, DNS services, IP geolocation, and threat intelligence, ensure network availability across the globe. With over 20 years of award-winning security experience, Neustar proudly enables and protects digital assets of some of the world's largest enterprises. Find out how your company can benefit from the power of Neustar's trusted connection by visiting securityweekly.com/Neustar. Secure your world with Neustar. Always on, ultra secure. Welcome back, everyone, to Enterprise Security Weekly. We're more than happy to announce we'll be at InfoSec World 2021 in person October 25th through the 27th this year. Our partnership is, of course, special. So we're both under the Cyber Risk Alliance umbrella. What does that mean? It means Security Weekly listeners and InfoSec World attendees will get to see and hear from many of us at Security Weekly, and you will save 20% off your World Pass. Visit securityweekly.com/ISW 2021 to register with our discount code. On to the enterprise security news. A little more exciting this week. A little more news to talk about. Some funding and acquisitions. I guess we'll start there. There were some interesting ones. SentinelOne announces its IPO.
Yeah, some big dollars going around. So yeah, it looks like they've priced it also. But if I recall, this is New York Stock Exchange, which is kind of rare for cybersecurity companies.
Yeah, it's interesting.
NASDAQ tends to be the standard for tech companies.
Did they put, what was the valuation and market cap? Do we know that? I'm just curious.
$7 billion is currently priced at $7 billion. They're looking to raise just shy of $1 billion.
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a healthy one.
Yeah, it's good.
That's for sure.
Yeah, pretty good. And the fact that it's New York Stock Exchange, I always see as a positive. The breakneck growth folks, you tend to see more on the NASDAQ side of things. So generally speaking, going after NYSE is kind of a sign of more stability, more sustained, reasonable growth rather than, going crazy.
So should we buy it? Is that what's your recommend? No, I'm only kidding. We don't make those recommendations. Not that kind of show.
Not going there.
Not going there.
Yeah, Johnny will buy a whole bunch of it if I do.
Right. Then you have to get held responsible.
We don't want that.
Let's see. What else do we got in here?
Why don't we just talk about the big crazy stuff first?
Yeah.
How about the Transmit Security raising over $500 million and calling it a Series A?
It's only Series A in the sense that it's their first raise. That's the only thing that makes it a Series A.
Right. They've been around since 2014. Yeah. And obviously this isn't VC funds, like most VCs, like the whole fund is smaller than this one investment.
What? Yeah, I can't remember who did that one. Who did they say did it? Was it Insight? Yeah, it's Insight. Insight's just throwing money like it's going out of style for like every Israeli cybersecurity company is getting funded by Insight at like astronomical ventures. I think Insight was involved in some of the, I don't know for sure. They might have been involved in Orca and Wiz and those big ones as well. Mm-hmm. They're just throwing a lot of money around these days. Now, this one actually, believe it or not, I don't think is that insane. And I'm sure Adrian's now looking at me like, what? Huh? But if you think about what they're actually doing, which is to get rid of passwords, a goal of eradicating passwords, it is a huge TAM. right? I like the smirk, Adrian. Well played. It is a huge TAM.
Goose is trying to. I'm pulling faces. Goose is trying to catch me and missing it.
He keeps missing though. He keeps missing. It is a huge total addressable market. But what makes this one actually interesting is they bootstrapped, I think, to 100 million without raising any capital and got to 100 million of ARR.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at it and I go, hey, it is an A technically. It's just a big one on a company that bootstrapped for a long way to get there.
Well, and I mean, you say bootstrap, but the founders have had huge exits in the past. So
they had a safety net, but they were still bootstrapping. It was a
big bootstrap.
Yeah, they're bootstrapped, but they had some pretty big coffers to bootstrap with.
Sure, yeah, it definitely makes it easier.
Pre-money valuation, into the pool. Pre-money valuation to $2.2 billion.
Yeah. Now, I actually did some searching, and forget that this is a cybersecurity company, and 543 million Series A is still enormous. In the past year, I could only find one U.S. Series A larger, and it's a company called Perch that sells and grows third-party direct-to-consumer brands that sell through Amazon. So, last year, Uber Freight raised 500 million. Going after like FedEx and UPS, to give you some context here. So it's not just big for cybersecurity, as far as Series A's go, it's big, period.
Yeah, the other thing that I found interesting on this one, besides the fact that they bootstrapped up to 100 million in revenue, was that whole goal, I think, of ridding the world of passwords. They're basically creating a system where you can log into any website that's using their software, essentially via your mobile device with biometrics. And that connectivity is pretty unique. And so they said they don't need to raise the money. The only reason they raised the money, or supposedly this is what they said, was to essentially generate awareness for the market, which is essentially a marketing play. They're selling a chunk of the company off to generate marketing.
But also got 500-something million in exchange
into their pockets.
That's a genius marketing play. They're getting paid to do marketing. I mean, they had to give up equity, right? But
and a big chunk of that 500 million will be used for marketing,
right? So
the fact that they raised it is marketing, and then it itself is going to fund more marketing.
Yeah,
it's all just
I had not heard of Transmit Security. Which is
I hadn't either.
Okay, so I'm not alone there. So maybe they did need to invest in marketing.
100 million in revenue, security company that the three of us haven't heard of.
Right.
Imagine if we had heard of them, they'd be hundreds and hundreds of million of revenue, which is why I think this is a smart sell.
That's exactly how it works, actually.
Yeah. Because if they had come on this show, that's all they would have needed.
That's right. Industrial cybersecurity firm Claroty just raised 140 million, which they talked about TAM, right? And what's your TAM when it comes to industrial cybersecurity, or is that increasing now? And because maybe the ICS is getting more and more budget to increase their cybersecurity. I think it's been a huge spotlight. There's been lots of spotlights, right? The most recent one, from my assessment, has highlighted the fact that most critical infrastructure that is present in the U.S. inside of the states is largely like either funded by the state or the county or from a private firm. And so I think this market is ripe to acquire cybersecurity technologies and services, and maybe we'll have more of a budget to do so as again, the spotlight has been shined. The Florida water attack was just one in a series of recent ones. The Colonial Pipeline. I think we're realizing the underfunding of technology and cybersecurity in our critical control systems, and this is certainly a sign of a step in the right direction. That Claroty's taking on some more money to be more aggressive in the market.
Yeah, if you expand critical control to be generalized ICS plus like manufacturing, IoT, it's huge. It's a huge market. So then that makes sense why they raised now on the back of all the ransomware attacks targeting these spaces. They've got to have an influx of deals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to think of utilities, but there's a ton of industries that do have a lot more funding, that have a ton of OT stuff. Like I mentioned, FedEx and UPS, earlier.
Any manufacturing thing.
Yeah, OT is in a lot of places that you wouldn't normally think of it being.
I did not know Arctic Wolf was that large, right? They've raised nearly $350 million, and their latest valuation is $4 billion. Is that?
Imagine how much they would have raised if they came on our show.
But they've been. It's still in the MSSP market, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all managed stuff. Yeah, and they've been. And they've been just growing like crazy. I mean, MSP's been a huge market, and they marketed. They spent pretty aggressively on marketing and sales, and honestly, I've not heard a bad review of them. So I think a lot of it they've really benefited from word of mouth. And gotten that network effect there.
It's so surprising to me because I talk to so many MSPs or MSSPs that don't make it, like tons and tons of mom and pop shops, small ones, local, that never get beyond that. And it's like,
it's a tough
what
market.
Did they do? Yeah, it's a super, super competitive, tough market, very low differentiation compared to many others. And what did they do to become what they are? I don't know. I don't know them well enough.
Well, I'm just guessing here, but I think quality might have a lot to do with it. I think if you look at a lot of folks in this market, retention and churn is probably terrible. I used to jokingly refer to the managed security market as, when you're tired of doing a crappy job of something yourself, that's who you turn to do a crappy job for you. And yeah, I mean, you hear horror stories of, like the managed firm, won't send you your logs because, you're not at the right tier. You're not paying enough to get access to the logs from the device that sits on your network. I mean, just absolute nightmare stuff. Like, the device that they send on site, nobody actually checks to see if it's plugged into the right port on the switch, and it's plugged into a disabled port, or a port that's not looking at the right network traffic, or the span just isn't set up correctly.
So what you're saying is we should go start our own company, Adrian, doing this right now, because we could do it better and get $4 billion valuations, right?
So I'm saying everyone else has already done that. Just about almost every consulting firm I've ever heard of went out and became an MSSP overnight. Like let's just buy Alien Vault, and now we're an MSSP. And like there's certain and there's product companies out there where they're bread and butter. Like Alien Vault is one of those. Where they had a big white label business. Where anybody can just stand up a SOC, buy some Alien Vault, and now they're an MSP.
I want to talk about Rumble because I think it's really interesting for a lot of reasons. And we had HT Moore on the show not that long ago, and what I've been looking at vulnerability management tools, tactics, techniques, solutions, and I try and put it in the lens of like what would I do given today's available technology, and I really like Rumble a lot as actually part of my vulnerability management program, because it does what I've always wanted products to do in terms of asset discovery on a highly technical level. And that is just, look at the traffic in a different way and tell me about stuff I don't know about, because everything is very chatty on the network. And I've always liked, coming from vulnerability management, I like dropping software on a device in different locations and seeing what that a device is seeing based on network traffic. And lo and behold, now we have Rumble, and I'm like, that is everything I wanted from that type of solution and tool.
I think what Rumble really shows you is just how lazy some of the vendors got. Like a lot of these vendors are just like they've got their own port scanners, or they're using Nmap behind the scenes, and there was just a lot left on the table. a lot of data just in packet captures, that systems will send you. I mean, reading through the release notes of Rumble is more entertaining than the average novel for me. I mean, it's just just the stuff they're doing. Like every release, I look forward to the emails I get because it's just some of the techniques they're using are so clever, and like this new RFC 1918 coverage map thing that they're doing. Is just amazing. Like they're finding clever ways to figure out what subnets are used inside the organization without actually sending probes to all of them. And this is a lot of these problems. These are things that pen testers and a lot of internal defenders have been trying to solve for years. I mean, it's commonplace for a pen tester to come in and discover not just external subnets that the team isn't aware of, but internal subnets.
Ones, yeah.
And that's happened to me several times where, there'll be findings on the pen test report and they're like, we think this is a mistake. This is from like some other pen test and you guys included it. No, that's your segment on your network. You just don't know about it because the telecom manages all their own IT outside the main IT group.
And now, Tyler, and you're in this, I wouldn't say in this space because it's different, right? Because this is more focused on what's on your network versus what you have as assets, which are two different things, right?
Yeah, no, I love Rumble, and we're not competitive with Rumble in any way. As a matter of fact, I would see us eventually integrating Rumble and taking Rumble output into the Jupiter One asset management platform as a broad input point. The primary difference is Rumble is network-focused, network-targeted, network-centric assets. It really focuses on the address or the MAC address or IP address as a kind of delineation asset, moniker or point. We define our assets in a very different way. We define assets as anything that you can draw a box around from a software-defined vantage point. So identities, IP addresses, Git repositories, Git commits, cloud workloads, cloud instances, right? Each of those are assets for us. So we're a much broader asset management system as opposed to this is kind of more network-centric internal.
Cool. What else we got?
Well, MITRE ATT&CK was pretty popular, right? So now we've got MITRE DEFEND.
Oh,
didn't see that coming.
And at first, it's kind of like I actually did see, I forget who did it. Some folks working for, I want to say it was a consulting firm that did a lot of purple teaming. Came up with kind of like a defend version of the attack matrix. But this is funded by the NSA. So it's MITRE proper that's putting it together, and it's just in beta right now. But after looking at it a little bit, it totally makes sense, because attack is the attacker's point of view, or the pen tester's point of view. These are the attacks that can be used in different stages of, an incident, post-compromise stuff, pre-compromise stuff. But those don't map one-to-one to defenses against those attacks. The actual mitigations and defenses that you use to prevent this stuff, a lot of times there's like one thing will prevent like 24 different types of attacks.
Right.
Like network anomaly detection, like is one of them. And of course, there's all kinds of stuff you can detect with that general broad control. So after looking at it a little bit, it totally makes sense that they would break out a separate matrix for this. And I think it'll be really interesting if they put as much effort into it as they did attack and actually map it to actors, map it to scenarios like let's highlight just the ones that help you with ransomware, for example. Like that would be a great one to look at.
So two things to consider on this one is if you haven't seen Sunil use cyber defense matrix, it's very similar to this. It's essentially groupings of like detection, prevention, remediation, right? And then groupings of technologies can fit under these different definitions. So I definitely would suggest you go take a look at that. But that being said, if you click on the show notes and actually look at the image that comes up on nsa.gov when you're looking at the release of D3FEND, there's an image there where you have harden, detect, isolate, deceive, evict, and then a bunch of technology, cybersecurity style technologies underneath each one. Is it me, or is this just like completely depressing to think of the amount of technologies that we have on the cybersecurity market, yet we still can't protect ourselves? Like, you're in the detect section here, and network traffic analysis, platform monitoring, process analysis, and user behavioral analysis have like 8 items each under them that you could buy to do this. And it's like, holy smokes, that's just so much, expense and depth to be secure today.
Yeah, I mean, but in a lot of cases, people already own everything that they need to do a large chunk of this stuff. And also that's why I say it would be good to, like there's no analysis here of which of these are more common or less common, in actually stopping attacks. So we kind of need like the heat map version of this, like combine this with, the Verizon data breach report insights, and then create kind of a heat map of, there's this is meant to be comprehensive, but some of these are more valuable than others, obviously.
Yeah, like homoglyph detection.
Yeah. And, I'm going to disagree with you on the cyber defense matrix because I've been working with it for a long time. That's much simpler. It doesn't get into controls. It has, like, maybe it's just a top row there.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. It's a framework for thinking about it, and then placing your own tools into the framework to determine where gaps exist. It definitely is not a complete enumeration like this.
You could combine the two. You could put the defend matrix into the cyber defense matrix, and that could help you discover product gaps.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Skybox Security made a vulnerability remediation announcement. Adrian, what's your take on Skybox and Tyler too in the vulnerability management kind of space? I see them come up often when I look around for vulnerability management, right? But I don't often associate them with straight vulnerability management, right? Like they're not a Qualys, Tenable, or Rapid7.
Right. I don't think, they're more in that core security Red Seal area where they will take your vulnerability scan output, and they're one of the companies that can do the attack mapping. They can combine that then with your, network infrastructure. So they can read in your network infrastructure, read in your vulnerabilities, and tell you, okay, I've identified some paths that an attacker could take from the outside to the inside. Or something like that, or pivoting, post-compromise from host to host by looking at the segmentation between networks.
Gotcha.
And this is kind of a trend we're starting to see. So, obviously with Kenna Security, who got acquired by Cisco recently, they were big in the give me your vulnerability scans and we'll prioritize it for you. We'll make some sense of that giant mess that your scanner outputs, especially in larger organizations, and rescore everything, based on custom stuff, based on threats and things like that. And now we've seen, so Vulcan Cyber originally was kind of competing directly with Kenna there and kind of pivoted a bit towards more automating and orchestrating, patching and remediation activities. And it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if this market is going to be a thing. In a lot of cases, every time I talk about this with somebody, they're like, "Yeah, we already have a product that does the patching for us." I'm not sure why we need a vulnerability management tool that's pivoting into remediation assistance.
Yeah, it was almost like they were too late to market with those features.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear more back, more input from multiple people. Like if you look at Vulcan Cyber, they'll actually spit out scripts for Ansible and stuff like that will patch a particular vulnerability for you. So super interesting what they're doing. I'm just not sure if there's a market for it. And it looks like Skybox wants a piece of that.
Aqua Security launches an AWS CloudFormation public registry for IAC, infrastructure as cloud automation. Validated CloudFormation templates for multiple resources, radically simplifies provisioning and deploying modules as customers scale and help them easily upgrade as new versions of Aqua Cloud Native Security Platform are released. I was confused by that.
Yeah, I mean, the way that you're reading that sounded like you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, like I still can't figure it out. This is the at least second time that I've read it.
My gut tells me that maybe they figured out a way to validate their own CloudFormation so you can do updates to Aqua Cloud easier. I mean, that's maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, certainly, CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, like we're seeing a ton of stuff that's going to look through your CloudFormation, your Terraform stuff to identify issues. I have no idea where public registry enters into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wasn't clear on that announcement.
If you know, let us know.
Cloudflare is integrating with Microsoft Splunk, Datadog, Sumo Logic so businesses will be able to funnel security insights from Cloudflare directly into their preferred analytics platform. But they didn't. What they failed to say in the article is like the details. Like what exactly is coming from Cloudflare into these various platforms, and how does it help me? That was my question. That was not answered when I read the announcement.
The value prop.
Which is a pit. Yeah, it's missing. It's a pity.
Yeah, if I'm gonna take a shot in the dark on that one, I'm gonna guess that it's a lack of. It's one too many dashboards. So why go into your Cloudflare dashboard for security event data when you can funnel it back to a single unified system, whatever that is, right? And they probably had enough demand from enterprise clients to pump it to Splunk and Datadog or whatever other systems they said they were going to.
I think a lot of vendors, when they make these announcements, should give some use cases for it. And it's hard because they may not have them because the feature is new, but I think if they take the time to develop those use cases, it would have be much more impactful, when they make that announcement to say, oh yeah, we do this. But by the way, like if you take this, because Cloudflare has a ton of different services. So like give me the best example. I take this type of data from Cloudflare, and when I put it in Splunk, here's how I can correlate it with other data and actually solve a problem or gain some new visibility, right?
They do give an example. They say today a customer catches a SQL injection attack is alerted and can block additional traffic in Cloudflare's WAF. With an integration to an analytics platform, they could also see all past activity from that same IP address that the SQL injection attack came from across all applications and infrastructure, not just Cloudflare.
Clearly, I didn't read the article closely enough. So props for them. So that helps.
I didn't want to interrupt, but
thank you, Adrian.
Did include an example.
Examples help. So that actually is useful then. Yes, no, maybe. Or.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work, maybe.
Yeah, it's not drop everything and do that now kind of announcement, right?
Yeah, a lot of folks announce these integrations, and they do leave out the by the way, like it's a ton of work to actually make it all work together. like we get it started for you, but you're gonna have to do a lot of tuning. And
even when they say it's easy, you're right. I think there's still a lot of tuning. Yeah, I mean. Because you have to separate the actual integration piece. Like, I go paste my API key in here, and I click submit, and they're like, the integration's easy. But to your point, Adrian, then once that integration happens and data's flowing in either direction or both, what do I do with it, and how do I configure it so that it is actually useful?
Yeah.
Anything else in there that was interesting?
I thought a BGP security tool was interesting. Code BGP, kind of like an IDS visibility tool for BGP. It's kind of exciting.
Is this like a start? Yeah, it looks like a startup, right?
Yeah, they get a seed round, 1.5 million seed investment from Marathon, and yeah, looks like some well-known researchers, some of the folks behind the open source Artemis, which we've seen a lot of BGP hijinks and stuff going on. So and Loft was talking about it in front of Congress in 1998. So it's about time we actually had some tooling, some more focus around if somebody's hijacking our stuff. Obviously, a tool for pretty much a niche tool. I mean, if you're using cloud for everything, you don't really have much of a need for this tool if all your IPs belong to Azure and Amazon and stuff like that. But if you do own significant, ratable infrastructure and IP address space, then yeah.
It's a smaller number of companies, right, that have that level of infrastructure. I mean, it's ISPs and really large providers. You Google's, Amazon, Microsoft's of the world, right? And your ISPs are the primary consumers of this, right? Largely that.
Well, I mean,
level
Equifax owns over 75,000 routable IP addresses.
Yeah.
So, not just ISPs.
Right. Yeah, larger enterprises, certainly. But I think more and more larger ones, right? I mean, I remember managing BGP, and we were only like a 5,000 person company, right? I think largely today that's not as common.
Universities, too.
Universities,
a lot of
for sure.
Space.
Yep. Absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you both. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this edition of Enterprise Security Weekly. We'll see you next time.